He is the pus in the wound. Oh, proper ones curl their noses, but it's the pus that drinks foul humors and restores the blood. I worship Peryite, yes, because sometimes the world can only be cleansed by disease. Hey, what's going on, dude? So my name is Rex, and we're back with some more Elder Scrolls Skyrim. On the last episode, we touched on and did the quest for Namira, the self-imposed Lord of Cannibalism. And we obtained her ring, actually, the Ring of Namira. Stamina is increased by 50 points. Feeding on corpses grants you increased health, and health regeneration is a very, very good... I cannot stress enough how good this ring is. 50 points in stamina is pretty good. It actually helps us a lot in our build, since we're going for that sort of power attack with dual-wielding weapons, which is extremely powerful. This gives us more uses of that ability that we have. However, I'm not going to use it for that long, and the reason for that is it becomes extremely annoying after a while having to, when you kill an enemy and you go to the enemy to loot it, having that option of whether you're going to loot the creature or feed on it, having that prompt be sort of put on the screen, after a while it does become a little bit annoying when all you want to do is just loot people, and then you have that sort of extra layer of things to click on. It can be a little bit obnoxious after a while, so we'll see for how long we can tolerate it. But alas, today, as you can clearly see in the title and from the intro, we will be doing Peryite, the Lord of Pestilence. Now, finding the shrine is a little bit of an odyssey. It's sort of like in the middle of nowhere, as you can see. You can, of course, use Karth Waston as a way of guidance. Once you sort of find this town, you can clearly see it on your map. You can see that shrine icon on my mini-map of my compass. Pretty easy to find otherwise. Now, there are two ways of obtaining this quest for Peryite. One of them is to find the actual clerics, the infested, from Peryite, and actually speaking with them. It'll lead you here, or simply walking and actually physically finding the place and talking to this guy, which we're gonna do.
Ah, a wanderer, yes? No, pilgrim, perhaps. You have come to commune with Peryite, taskmaster and blighted lord, yes? He is the pus in the wound. Oh, proper ones curl their noses, but it's pus that drinks foul humors and restores the blood. I worship Peryite, yes, because sometimes the world can only be cleansed by disease. Not everyone has the stomach required to entreat my lord, but Kesh likes you, friend. There is a way Peryite may speak to us who will take him in. If you wish to commune with him, we'll need the incense. Yes, the incense. Fetch for me a deathbell flower, 1 silver ingot, a flawless ruby, and some vampire dust. Then I will show you how.
For sure, one of the most annoying quests in the game. Everything that has you collecting different ingredients, especially some as rare as a flawless ruby, can be quite obnoxious because, well, to be fair, there's really no easy way of obtaining a flawless ruby other than just getting lucky, essentially, killing a dragon and having that actually be dropped. I, however, have a spot that I always use for this particular quest, which has always worked for me. I'm not sure if this location is random, if the actual rewards that you get are random, if the gems actually change, but it has never failed me in the past. I'm gonna just go ahead and use it. And yeah, I guess we'll go through the notion of finding some easy ways of obtaining these ingredients for you guys. Now, before I go any further, I am very much aware that I pronounced Peryite wrong. It's sort of a staple of mine in this channel to mispronounce everything, it seems. Peryite. Just, I don't know. I guess I'll try. I'll try for you guys. I'll do my best. But I might make a couple of mistakes. I might say Peryite every once in a while, and for that I apologize. Now, I port here, and I follow the river across this rocks. It's kind of a hidden place. There's a hidden boat here. Someone shipwrecked and left a variety of gems on their ship that is just right there for us to plunder. we're just gonna go ahead and do that. I believe you always get that flawless ruby. Fantastic. See, I was sweating there a little bit because if we wouldn't find it here, then I might have to actually find another place to get it, which can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. But there you go. Just a nice and easy way of actually obtaining it. Let's see if I can get this done. There we go. You also get a diamond, which is awesome. It's worth a lot of money. Now, Deathbell Flowers. It's probably the easiest one. I mean, there's one directly in front of Morvath's lair. But otherwise, I mean, you can find it everywhere here on the swamp. Pretty easy to see how they look like. I mean, everyone here has seen a Deathbell. I don't really need to explain that. They're literally just everywhere, scattered here in the swamp, so easy peasy. Now, very fortunate for us, we also need vampire dust. You can, of course, go to this very lair where there's a vampire master that you can kill. Now, if we were smarter, which we're not, at least I'm not, I would have saved a vampire dust from Hamer's Shame, since that was the quest we did for Clavicus Vile, and it's essentially a dungeon full of vampires. Like I said, I'm not smart, so I didn't save one. So we're gonna go ahead and find one. I don't necessarily want to go to a dungeon. I, of course, cannot repeat Hamer's Shame. It's already been cleared. I'm not sure how much time it'll take for them to respawn, so I don't want to really try that. I also don't want to go into Morvath's Lair because that Master Vampire is kind of a pain in the ass. So I'm going to do a little something instead. Now we'll talk about Peryite in just a little bit. And I'm going to let you guys know, on the next episode, we will focus definitely on just all Daedras altogether. This quest is pretty long. I can't say that I recall the name of the Dwemer dungeon that we're going to go into. It's one of those that have sort of weird names, Bertharms or something. I don't remember. But the dungeon is one of the biggest dungeons in the game, so at least one of the biggest, if not the biggest ruin in the game, so it's going to be a long one, guys, and there's going to be a lot of combat, so we're going to have a lot of time to talk about, so a lot of time to talk about Daedras, that is. So I'm going to make sure to use that as the backdrop for the big talk, and that should be on the next episode. Now, Drilla's Cottage. This place is interesting for one uninteresting reason, and that is there's nothing important about Drilla's Cottage. This is one of those places, and of course with Drilla's inside, that as far as I know, there are no quests that are actually attached to this guy. This guy is completely unimportant to any quest whatsoever. If you guys have a quest, I mean, let me know, because I honestly have no idea what this guy is good for. That being said, it's interesting because as soon as we get in, he's going to become aggressive. Now, he is a worthy opponent. He's a necromancer. He'll cast lightning bolts and ice spears, and he's gonna have like this frost aura on him, which is pretty deadly to us as a melee character. He's no joke, so you definitely don't want to come in here early. But it's interesting to me because this is one of the only characters in this game that actually gives a shit about you entering his house unannounced. You know, I mean, the last Dragonborn, we enter every single house we come in contact with, and we just expect people to be okay with it. This guy does not, which is cool. Immediately, he's just gonna aggro. Now, as you can see, pretty powerful. Don't let him yield because he has a healing spell that would heal him, will heal himself to full, so you really don't want to chance that whatsoever. But there you go. You can choose to feed, I suppose. Just for our own amusement. Doesn't even give us that much, to be honest. But that's it. That's literally all there is to it in here. The reason we came in here, of course, is for the vampire dust. There we go. I don't know if I even mentioned that before when we were going here in the first place, but yeah, the vampire dust can be found here. This place is an alchemical ingredient treasure trove of goodness. You can find almost anything in here. Of course, we don't really care too much about the actual ingredients, but just letting you guys know that there is this place that you can come into. I'm mostly interested in the potions that we can go ahead and steal. There's also another one in his bedroom we can take. Plentiful mana and poison. This place, you know, whenever I go here, I'm always shocked at how cool this place is. It's so normal, but so cozy at the same time. I mean, just look at it. It's just the fire just raging there in the corner. You can sit down here to eat. Just imagine living in a place like this in Skyrim. I don't know. This house always strikes me as like that. This is the perfect Nordic residence, and it's not even owned by a Nordic person. But anyways, let's continue on. Now we have the Death Bell, we have the Vampire Dust, and we have the Flawless Ruby, which are the hardest ingredients to get. This one should theoretically be the easiest one, but it can be the most annoying one if you obviously, you know exactly where to get the rest. We need a silver ingot. Now we can strictly just buy it.
I don't claim to be the best black. Blades, helmets, pretty much anything to suit your needs.
We can thankfully buy it. Oh, actually no, we cannot buy it. Well, the other way of doing it is just to simply buy the ore and smelting it yourself. Pretty easy. Just as easy as getting 2 ores and just making it yourself. No problem. There we go. Alright, we're gonna deliver this, and then we'll talk about Peryite. I swear. Let's go ahead and do it.
How can I assist? Ah, have you? Let Kesh have them. Yes, this will create a fine fume. That should do. Now, inhale deeply.
Breathe deep, mortal. I would have you hear me well. So let these vapors fill your lungs. In a sense, but no more poison than a fool after too much wine. I have watched you for some time, you know. The decisions you've made intrigue me, and I wonder if you are the proper agent for a task of mine. I sent a blessing to Mundus, a wasting plague that infected a scattering of Breton villages. One of my monks, the elf Orchendor, was sent to gather these afflicted. He shepherded them into Bathardons for me, but has since lost his way. I will not stand for betrayal. I want you to go to Bathardons and kill Orchendor in my name. An impertinent question. The elf must die. Either carry out my will or do not. You are not the only mortal agent I could choose. The pettiness of mortals. I had almost forgotten. I can grant you a powerful token for this task. An escutcheon of Dwemer make, capable of shielding you from both the spell and sword. Return when the elf lies dead, and it will be yours. So you have, mortal. Go now. Kill Orchendor.
As you can see, his avatar appears to be a couple of skeevers, which is interesting considering the fact that for the longest time he has always sort of appeared to mortals in the form of a dragon. In fact, it is said that he does that to mock Akatosh specifically. So now he just appears as a couple of skeevers, which is definitely just sort of out of characteristic. I mean, we know that he does indeed take on the souls of skeevers. Whenever you kill a skeever, those souls are actually sent to Peryite and to do whatever he wants to do with them, I suppose. I'm not sure what he would even want with those, but so we do know that, I mean, of course, he has some affinity with skeevers. We know that rats typically are entities that propagate diseases, which is what Peryite is there for. He's the Lord of Pestilence. It's sort of what he wants. But that's not all he wants, which is what makes him a very interesting Daedric. You see, his spheres of influence is also natural order alongside pestilence, which might strike you as a little bit odd, isn't it? Why would a Daedra who has everything to do with pestilence somehow also have stuff to do with the natural order? Doesn't seem like they both share much between each other, doesn't they? It's also interesting because the natural order is very different from the type of order that Jiggalag is all about. Because obviously we know that Jiggalag is the Daedric Lord of Order, so what's the difference there? Well, Jiggalag is more of the OCD style of order, whereas Peryite is more, you know, like the name suggests, the natural order. So when you talk about perfection, when you talk about everything needs to be clean, and cleanness is actually a very good example. Jiggaleth would want everything to be clean because that's just how things need to be, right? That's just order. Everything needs to be perfect. Peryite would be, well, no, things are never clean. That's not how things are. You know, when you look around the world, things are never clean. So we need to make sure that things are indeed unclean, right? So as you can see, that perfect metaphor of maybe why pestilence has a lot to do with Peryite. But it goes a little bit more deeper than that. Natural order and I guess pestilence. But just we'll talk about that a little bit. I want to sort of finish my thought on the difference between Jiggaleth and Peryite. It's interesting because when you look at the human body, you know, a lot of us consider it to be, you know, this perfect sort of form of evolution. Like, we have gotten this way after, you know, thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. But the human body is not perfect at all, you know? Parts of our body are longer. Like, one arm can sometimes, most of the time, be longer than the other arm. We are not perfectly symmetrical. You know, it looks symmetrical, but we're not perfectly symmetrical. Sometimes a breast can be bigger than the other breast. That happens all the time. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's on 99% of the cases. So, and that's just, you know, an OCD style of order would say, well, everything needs to be symmetrical. Everything needs to be perfect. Every single line in the universe needs to be perfectly straight. Whereas Peryite would say, no, like, natural order doesn't dictate that everything needs to be perfect. Things need to be the way they are. The powerful need to be above the weaker, right? That's natural order. I suppose bears need to be hairy, right? But like, it doesn't necessarily, but you can see that difference, right? Now, as far as the cleanliness, I think I'm gonna have a bad time here. As far as like pestilence is concerned and natural order, of course we have that cleanliness factor, right? humans tend to strive for perfection. Whereas Peryite would say, no, we shouldn't strive for perfection. We should in fact do the opposite. We should just maintain our normalcy. Whatever makes us us, we need to make sure that we continue to achieve that. Now, let me see, how do I find myself an entrance into this place? There it is. Nope. There it is. Cool. So Peryite. It's interesting to me, and I'm gonna take a little moment here, because the relationship between natural order and pestilence is interesting. You talk about skeevers, right? Skeevers are what you consider a pest. They are the type of mammal that you essentially just want to kill. Period. Like you, it's I guess the definition of a pest. They spread diseases, so there's that connection there. Natural order. It's interesting because as you evolve, when you imagine a human being or an elf in their most primal and natural state, you know, a person like Adam and Eve who are just out there in the forest, they eat apples from trees, they, you know, might kill a cow and then eat that cow that same day by just propping a little fire pit and then cooking that cow right there, right? This is a person who has no access to medicine, has no access to a clean environment, sleeps in the mud. These are actual human beings, right? That's how a human being was supposed to be in the first place. That's the natural way of things. Nowadays, and of course, I'm gonna make that metaphor in real life. In real life, we have medicine. We have all of these improvements to our daily routines that we are now able to survive not die at 40 years old. We can actually survive until we're like, you know, 80, 90 years old thanks to all of these improvements. A person seeking to find back that natural sort of equilibrium would bring disease, because that's the one thing that we're missing now. We are essentially almost immune to disease thanks to our pills and our medicines. Imagine a person that wants to bring that natural balance back would bring disease back, right? It makes sense. There's a connection there. I'm not saying that is the connection. I'm just saying there is a connection. So when you bring it back to this world, you know, you have magic, right? You have potions, healing potions, which is essentially, you know, the same thing as medicine, right? Curing diseases. It would make some manner of sense for this individual to want to bring back diseases, to sort of bring the world back to that time when maybe magic wasn't that popular. I know that in the world of Elder Scrolls, maybe doesn't make that much sense. I don't know if there was ever a time when humans, you know, were back in that sort of age where they were dying that early. So I'm not sure if it necessarily applies to Elder Scrolls itself. I'm just really trying hard to find this connection, and maybe there isn't, right? Maybe that's it. It's just natural order and pestilence, and that's just all there is to it. It's just interesting for me to talk about, because very unlike Bethesda to, you know, simply create this guy, give him two spheres of influence that are completely alien to each other. And I mean, natural order is a very important sphere of influence. I mean, that's no joke, right? That's not even a bad thing. You know, people consider Peryite to be a evil Daedra. Yet natural order is one of the most important things in the universe. You know, we talk about why Gigalag is bad when all he wants is order. Well, you know, that's order unbounded, right? Like this type of order that is more like OCD, like this order where he would want to kill you just so that you don't exist, so that everything can be perfect, you know? Like, it's the type of order that you don't want, whereas natural order might not necessarily be that bad. Until you get, of course, the disease, I suppose. Now, Peryite is known to be one of the weakest Daedric princes, of course. Out of the 17, it makes sense. We don't really know that much about Peryite. I'm gonna say Peryite because it's easier for me. I'm sorry, guys. we don't really know much about Peryite. But what we do know is that he doesn't appear that often in history. When you look back into, you know, the pantheons of the elves, of the Altmer, when you look at the Daedras that they revere, you do see a lot of Daedras. Not necessarily in the human pantheons, of course. When you look at the 9 divines, none of them are Daedras. But when you look at the elves, the Altmer, the Bosmer, you know, there's a lot of them. There's deities that, I mean, are even bizarre to the rest of the world, right? You have Ifri, which is, you know, for the Bosmer, the deity of the forest. Like, who the hell is that person, right? You see Hermaios Mora, right? The actual Bosmer venerate Hermaios Mora. They, you have, of course, Asura, a very popular Daedra, revered by the Dark Elves and even the Khajiits, right? A lot of these Daedras are not necessarily even powerful, just venerated. Like, they have a lot of history in the world of the Elder Scrolls. Peryite doesn't. It's one of those few, even someone as quiet, let's say, as Vermina, still has a lot of influence. Whenever people dream and they have nightmares, you know, they pray, hey, I hope I don't go to Quagmire, because that can happen. She can literally just come and start absorbing your dreams. I mean, I made this episode a while back. You guys should see it. Could Vermina destroy the world? I thought it was a pretty good video. Not to tout my own horn, but I liked it. You should definitely see it. But it speaks of the power that Vermina has. And Vermina doesn't really do much in the history of the Elder Scrolls. Yet, we know that she's powerful. Peryite is one of those that, you know, sort of both doesn't really show itself very often. And whenever it does, it's like, you don't really do much, do you? It is known to us, however, that he's just very busy, simply because of his job, essentially maintaining that natural order. We know that he maintains order in the lower planes of Oblivion, making sure that, you know, all the Daedras are doing what they're supposed to do, essentially. He's known as the Taskmaster. So that probably keeps him too busy to even deal with Nirn in the first place, which would make sense, but it's also worth of note. Would I like to hear them talk? It's also worth of note that when I say that Peryite is one of the known weaker Daedras, this is only of the Daedric princes, of course, which we only really know 17 of, but there's probably a lot more. I mean, keep in mind that the ideal masters of the Soul Cairn are also Daedra. I mean, the Soul Cairn is in Oblivion, and we don't know anything about them. I mean, we know that probably they are Daedra, but other than that, we don't know anything about them, and they are very, very powerful. So there could be easily, indeed, a lot more Daedric princes that we don't know anything about. And just the fact that there might be, and, you know, Peryite is above them, if anything, it does indicate, you know, maybe he is powerful. His realm, the pits. Again, I keep repeating this, but it's just sort of what it is with Elder Scrolls. We don't really know much about it, right? We know that it is very similar to the Deadlands from, there we go. Oh, I'm blanking. Mirunstegan. Oh boy. So is that sort of like lava-filled, you know, very rocky lava-filled environment with, you know, everything is just in chaos and getting destroyed?
Show me what you got.
Oh boy. See what I mean with the feed and search? Having that option every single time you want to interact with a corpse can become a little bit obnoxious. So we might just get rid of the ring at some point, but I think that might be it for Peryite. I don't really, because there really isn't that much to talk about him. I'm mostly just interested in that, just the difference between his spheres of influence, I think, are very much just worthy of discussion. I want to see what you guys think, if there's like some form of connection between that, outside of the ones that I have proposed. I would like to hear what you guys think of it. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the episode. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, whenever the next episode uploads, we will be talking about, I want to talk about all the Daedras together, you know, where they came from, Anu, Padome, all of that good stuff, and I suppose we'll just go deeper into this dungeon while we talk about it, because, yeah, I mean, the rest are going to be Peryite, so, yeah, I suppose I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.